Today we will talk about foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment, FDI, happens when a company directly invests in facilities to produce or market products in a foreign country. The U.S. Department of Commerce defines FDI as a U.S. citizen, organization, or group taking a 10% or higher interest in a foreign business. Once a firm undertakes FDI, it becomes a multinational enterprise, MNE, as Walmart did when it invested in Mexico in the 1990s. FDI can occur in two main forms. 1. Greenfield investments, where a company establishes a new operation abroad, and 2. Acquisitions or mergers with an existing foreign firm. Acquisitions can involve minority, 10 to 49%, majority, 50 to 99%, or full, 100%, ownership stakes, as seen in Walmart's entry into Japan through acquisition. The chapter covers FDI's role in the global economy, theoretical explanations, government policies on FDI, and its business implications. When discussing foreign direct investment, FDI, it's essential to differentiate between two key concepts. Flow of FDI. This represents the amount of FDI undertaken over a specific time period, typically measured annually. It indicates how much new investment is being made in foreign markets. Stock of FDI. This refers to the total accumulated value of foreign-owned assets at a particular moment in time. It provides a snapshot of how much FDI has been invested in a country or region over the years. Additionally, we distinguish between outflows of FDI, the flow of FDI leaving a country, indicating investments made by domestic firms in foreign markets. Inflows of FDI, the flow of FDI entering a country, reflecting foreign investments into the domestic market. Over the past 3 decades, foreign direct investment, FDI, has notably surged both in terms of flow and stock within the global economy. The average annual outflow of FDI escalated from $25 billion in 1975 to a staggering $1.8 trillion in 2007, though it contracted to $1.1 trillion in 2009 and 2010 following the global financial crisis. Despite these downturns, the overall trend has shown FDI outpacing the growth of world trade and output significantly. This acceleration can be attributed to various factors such as firms using FDI to bypass potential trade barriers and the conducive political and economic transformations in developing nations, fostering a more favorable environment for foreign investment. The rise of democratic institutions, free market economies, economic growth, deregulation, and privatization programs in regions like Asia, Eastern Europe, and Latin America has attracted multinationals. Despite some recent regulatory changes posing challenges, the global desire to promote FDI is evident in the proliferation of bilateral investment treaties, which have surged from 181 in 1980 to 2,676 by 2009. Furthermore, the increasing globalization of the world economy has encouraged companies like Walmart to view the world as their marketplace, necessitating FDI to establish a substantial presence across various regions. This globalization trend, coupled with the preference for proximity to customers, further propels the momentum towards greater FDI. Historically, foreign direct investment, FDI, has primarily targeted developed nations, with the United States being a favored destination due to factors like its large domestic market, stable economy, favorable political environment, and openness to FDI. However, FDI into developing nations has been increasing steadily, particularly in regions like South, East, and Southeast Asia. China has been a significant recipient of FDI, with a substantial increase in investment from $60 billion in 2004 to $101 billion in 2010. Latin America, led by countries like Mexico and Brazil, also saw notable FDI inflows. In contrast, Africa, despite some growth, struggled to attract substantial investment due to political unrest and economic policy changes. Expressing FDI as a percentage of gross fixed capital formation reveals its importance as a source of investment for future economic growth. By 2006 to 2008, FDI accounted for 14% of global fixed capital formation, indicating its growing significance. Individual country differences are evident, with countries like Sweden and the UK benefiting significantly from FDI as a source of investment capital and economic growth, while countries like Japan and Venezuela have lower FDI contributions, potentially reflecting barriers to foreign investment like burdensome regulations. Okay, the source of FDI. Since World War II, the United States has been the leading source of foreign direct investment, FDI, maintaining this position through the late 1990s and early 2000s. Other significant source countries include the United Kingdom, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and Japan. Together, these 6 countries contributed 60% of global FDI outflows between 1998 and 2010. These nations have historically led in FDI and ranked among the top for multinational corporations due to their advanced economies, strong capital bases, and long-standing trade histories. Their enterprises, being well-established and resource-rich, naturally expanded into foreign markets, driving global investment trends. Foreign direct investment, FDI, can manifest as either greenfield investments in new facilities or through mergers and acquisitions of existing local firms. Between 1998 and 2009, a substantial portion, 40 to 80%, of FDI inflows globally were in the form of mergers and acquisitions, with developed nations seeing a higher percentage in this category compared to developing nations. Firms often prefer acquisitions over greenfield investments due to several reasons. Firstly, mergers and acquisitions are faster to execute, crucial in rapidly evolving markets. Secondly, acquiring firms with strategic assets like brand loyalty, patents, or distribution systems may be viewed as more efficient and less risky than building these assets from scratch. Lastly, firms may believe they can enhance the efficiency of acquired units by transferring capital, technology, or management skills. Despite these perceived benefits, evidence suggests that many mergers and acquisitions fail to deliver the expected benefits. Theories of foreign direct investment, FDI, can be grouped into 3 main perspectives. The first set of theories explains why firms choose FDI as their entry method over alternatives like exporting or licensing. These theories explore the benefits and strategic reasons that drive firms to invest directly in foreign markets. The second set of theories aims to explain why firms within the same industry often invest abroad simultaneously, and why they prefer specific locations for FDI. This set of theories addresses the patterns of FDI flows and the competitive dynamics that lead to clustering in particular regions. The third perspective, known as the eclectic paradigm, integrates the previous two approaches into a unified explanation. This paradigm is termed eclectic because it synthesizes the best elements of other theories to provide a comprehensive understanding of FDI motivations and behaviors. Firms choose to establish operations abroad through foreign direct investment, FDI, despite its higher costs and risks compared to exporting and licensing. Exporting, which involves producing goods domestically and shipping them abroad, avoids FDI costs, but can face transportation expenses and trade barriers. Licensing allows a foreign entity to produce and sell the firm's product in exchange for royalties, minimizing direct investment risks. However, both exporting and licensing have significant limitations. Exporting can be hindered by logistics and tariffs, while licensing risks loss of control over production quality and proprietary knowledge, and may create future competitors. FDI offers firms more control over their operations, protecting their technology and strategic interests, and enabling deeper market integration to maximize returns. The viability of an exporting strategy can be limited by transportation costs and trade barriers. High transportation costs make it unprofitable to export products with a low value-to-weight ratio, such as cement, which can be produced locally. For this reason, firms like Chemex have chosen foreign direct investment, FDI, over exporting. Products with a high value-to-weight ratio, e.g., electronics and medical equipment, are less affected by transportation costs, making exporting and FDI more comparable options. Trade barriers, such as import tariffs and quotas, also influence a firm's decision to pursue FDI. Tariffs increase the cost of exporting, while quotas limit import volumes, making FDI or licensing more attractive alternatives. For example, Japanese auto companies increased their FDI in the U.S. during the 1980s and 1990s due to protectionist measures and potential trade barriers. Notably, the mere threat of future trade restrictions can drive firms to favor FDI over exporting to mitigate risks and maintain market access. Internalization theory, a branch of economic thought, explains why firms often choose foreign direct investment, FDI, over licensing when entering foreign markets due to market imperfections. Licensing can lead to giving away valuable technology, lack of control over operations and strategy, and an inability to transfer intangible capabilities. Firms may lose control over key functions and risk competitors gaining advantages. For example, RCA's licensing of color TV technology to Japanese firms like Matsushita and Sony led them to dominate the market, surpassing RCA. Licensing may not allow firms to manage manufacturing, marketing, and strategy effectively abroad. When a firm's competitive edge lies in its capabilities rather than products, licensing can hinder efficient replication. Toyota's success in the auto industry is based on its management and process skills, which are hard to transfer via licensing due to their organizational and cultural nature. Firms opt for FDI over licensing when valuable know-how needs protection. Tight control is crucial for market success, and intangible capabilities are not easily licensable. In such cases, FDI proves more profitable than licensing. Foreign direct investment, FDI, offers key advantages for firms compared to exporting or licensing. Companies may prefer FDI when high transportation costs or trade barriers make exporting unfeasible. Additionally, FDI is favored over licensing or franchising when firms wish to retain control over their technological expertise, operations, or business strategies, or when their unique capabilities do not lend themselves easily to being licensed to others. Firms within the same industry often engage in foreign direct investment, FDI, simultaneously and target specific locations. Two theories explain these patterns: strategic behavior and the product life cycle. Strategic behavior. This theory views FDI as a result of competitive dynamics in oligopolistic industries, where a few large firms dominate. F.T. Knickerbocker highlighted that firms imitate rivals' FDI moves to maintain market share and avoid competitive disadvantages. Examples include U.S. firms in the 1950s to 60s and Japanese firms in the 1980s, such as Toyota and Nissan, following Honda's lead in entering foreign markets. The concept of multi-point competition also applies, where firms match competitors' international moves to prevent them from gaining strategic advantages. Product life cycle. Raymond Vernon's theory suggests firms pioneer products at home and later invest abroad to meet foreign market demand. For instance, Xerox expanded production to Japan and Britain when local demand grew. As products mature and face cost pressures, production may shift to developing countries with lower labor costs. However, Vernon's theory does not address why firms choose FDI over exporting or licensing, which limits its ability to fully explain the decision-making process behind FDI. John Dunning's eclectic paradigm emphasizes the importance of location-specific advantages in explaining foreign direct investment, FDI. These advantages stem from combining a firm's unique assets with resources in a foreign location that it finds valuable. Dunning argues that licensing unique capabilities is difficult, leading firms to opt for FDI to merge location-specific assets with their own capabilities, necessitating production facilities in those foreign locations. Examples, such as oil reserves or skilled labor, illustrate the need for FDI to leverage specific resources. Dunning's theory extends beyond basic resources to include knowledge hubs like Silicon Valley, where concentrated expertise fosters innovation. Foreign firms invest in such locations to tap into knowledge spillovers and gain competitive advantages. The eclectic paradigm complements other FDI theories by highlighting how location factors influence investment decisions. Additionally, political ideologies toward FDI vary from hostility to support, with pragmatic nationalism representing a middle ground between extreme positions. The radical view, grounded in Marxist theory, perceives multinational enterprises, MNEs, as tools of imperialist domination that exploit host countries for the benefit of their capitalist home nations. Critics argue that MNEs repatriate profits while providing minimal value to the host country, controlling key technology and reserving significant jobs for home country nationals. This view holds that FDI keeps less developed countries dependent on advanced nations for technology, investment, and jobs. Extreme proponents believe that no country should allow foreign corporations to invest and advocate for the nationalization of existing foreign-owned enterprises. Between 1945 and the 1980s, this view was highly influential, particularly in Eastern Europe. Communist countries like China, Cuba, and Cambodia, and many African nations that nationalized foreign enterprises post-independence. Even non-communist but nationalist countries like Iran and India adopted restrictive FDI policies aligned with this stance. By the late 1980s, the radical view declined due to the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe, poor economic results in countries that upheld the radical view, fostering a realization that FDI could drive technology transfer, job creation, and economic growth. The economic success of countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, which demonstrated the advantages of embracing capitalism and FDI. The free market view of FDI is rooted in classical economics and the comparative advantage theories of Adam Smith and David Ricardo. It suggests that countries should produce goods and services where they have a competitive advantage, and MNEs facilitate this by dispersing production globally, increasing economic efficiency. For instance, if Dell relocates assembly operations to Mexico for lower labor costs, it benefits both countries. Mexico gains technology and jobs, while the U.S. shifts resources to more advanced sectors. Consumers also benefit from lower prices. Despite the appeal of this view, no country fully adopts it without some intervention. The UK and U.S. are open to FDI, but maintain rights to intervene for national security or competitive reasons. The U.S. restricts foreign ownership in sectors like airlines and television, and reviews foreign acquisitions that may pose security risks, although such interventions are rare. Pragmatic nationalism describes an approach to FDI that recognizes both its benefits and costs. This policy balances the influx of capital, skills, technology, and jobs against drawbacks such as profits going abroad and negative impacts on the balance of payments if foreign companies import many components. Countries with this view, such as Japan until the 1980s, restricted FDI to protect domestic industries, but made exceptions when FDI brought significant technology that could stimulate economic growth. Notably, IBM and Texas Instruments established subsidiaries in Japan by insisting on full ownership. Pragmatic nationalism also involves courting FDI that aligns with national interests, often through subsidies and tax incentives. For example, EU countries compete for U.S. and Japanese FDI. Britain successfully attracted major Japanese carmakers like Nissan, Toyota, and Honda, creating employment and balance of payments benefits while serving as a base for Europe. In recent years, the number of countries adhering to a radical ideology toward FDI has significantly decreased. Although no country has fully adopted a pure free market policy, many have shifted toward more open and liberalized FDI policies, including former radical or pragmatic nationalist countries such as Eastern European nations, African nations, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, and most Latin American countries. This shift has led to a significant increase in FDI volumes, outpacing global trade growth and benefiting countries like China, India, and Vietnam. However, some nations have shown signs of a hostile shift toward FDI. Venezuela and Bolivia have taken aggressive actions, such as rewriting oil and gas contracts to increase state royalties and nationalizing gas fields under President Evo Morales. Additionally, developed countries have occasionally displayed resistance to FDI. as seen in the 2006 political backlash in Europe against Mittal Steel's takeover of Osler and U.S. Congressional opposition to the takeover of Hanokul by China National Offshore Oil Company in 2005. Although these instances are still isolated, they could threaten the long-standing global trend of reducing barriers to cross-border investment if they become widespread. Governments often exhibit pragmatic nationalism regarding foreign direct investment, FDI, considering the costs and benefits involved. Concerning host countries, benefits of FDI include resource transfer effects like capital infusion, technology transfer, and management expertise. Multinational enterprises, MNEs, bring capital resources and advanced technology, stimulating economic growth and productivity. Research indicates that MNEs transfer technology to host countries, boosting productivity and investing in research and development. Foreign management skills acquired through FDI can enhance operational efficiency and stimulate local personnel to establish indigenous firms. FDI also has positive employment effects, creating both direct and indirect jobs. Directly, foreign MNEs employ host country citizens, while indirectly generating jobs in local suppliers and from increased local spending by MNE employees. Despite concerns about job substitution effects, studies show that foreign firms tend to create new jobs faster than domestic counterparts after an initial restructuring period, with higher wage rates and improved employment quality. In some cases, acquired enterprises facing difficulties may see employment stabilization or growth post-acquisition due to new investments. Foreign direct investment, FDI, significantly impacts a country's balance of payments accounts, a crucial concern for host governments. The balance of payments tracks a nation's payments to and receipts from other countries, with a focus on the current account, which involves goods and services trade. Governments aim for a current account surplus over a deficit, which occurs when imports exceed exports. Long-term deficits necessitate selling assets to foreigners to sustain, a situation that nations generally aim to avoid due to losing control over their assets. FDI can help countries achieve a current account surplus in two ways. Firstly, if FDI substitutes imports, such as Japanese automobile companies producing in the US for the US market instead of importing from Japan, it can improve the host country's balance of payments. This reduces the need to finance deficits through asset sales, benefiting the host country like the United States. Secondly, FDI can drive export-led growth when foreign subsidiaries export goods and services to other nations. For instance, in China, FDI by foreign multinationals significantly boosted exports, with subsidiaries of these firms contributing substantially to the country's export growth, especially in sectors like mobile phones. Economic theory emphasizes that market efficiency hinges on robust competition among producers. Greenfield FDI, creating new enterprises, expands market players, enhancing consumer choice and fostering competition. Heightened competition can drive prices down, benefiting consumers and spurring firms to invest in technology and innovation to outperform rivals. This can lead to long-term gains like productivity growth, innovation, and economic expansion. In the South Korean retail sector, liberalized FDI regulations in 1996 attracted major Western discount stores like Walmart and Costco, inducing local players like E-Mart to enhance operational efficiency. This competition led to lower prices and improved offerings for South Korean consumers. In service industries like telecommunications and retail, where services must be produced where they are consumed, FDI's impact on competition is vital. The 1997 WTO-sponsored telecommunications agreement opened markets to foreign investment, promoting fair competition and modernization. This shift increased competition globally, driving investment in network infrastructure, enhancing services, and lowering prices for consumers. 3 key costs of foreign direct investment, FDI, for host countries include concerns regarding adverse effects on competition within the host nation, impacts on the balance of payments, and perceived loss of national sovereignty and autonomy. Adverse effects on competition. Host governments may fear that foreign MNE subsidiaries possess significant economic power, potentially outcompeting local firms. This concern is amplified in nations with few large domestic firms. While greenfield investments should enhance competition, acquisitions may not yield the same result. Mergers resulting from foreign acquisitions can reduce competition, leading to monopolies, limited consumer choice, and higher prices. Regulatory bodies in many countries have the authority to scrutinize and prevent mergers detrimental to competition, mitigating these risks. Okay, now adverse effects on the balance of payments. Host countries face 2 main concerns regarding the impact of foreign direct investment, FDI, on their balance of payments. Firstly, while FDI initially brings in capital, subsequent earnings repatriation to the foreign parent company leads to capital outflows. Governments may restrict these earnings repatriations to manage this outflow. Secondly, if a foreign subsidiary heavily imports inputs, it creates a deficit on the host country's current account. For example, Japanese auto companies in the US importing parts from Japan have faced criticism for this practice. To address such concerns, companies like Nissan have pledged to increase local sourcing to mitigate these effects. Host governments sometimes fear that FDI could compromise their economic independence, as key decisions affecting the host nation may be controlled by foreign entities without strong ties to the host country. Economists typically dismiss these fears as unfounded, emphasizing the increasing interconnectedness of the global economy. In a world where multinational firms from various nations invest across borders, holding one country economically hostage without repercussions is seen as impractical due to the mutual interdependence among nations. The benefits of foreign direct investment, FDI, to the home source countries stem from 3 primary sources. Balance of payments. FDI brings in foreign earnings, benefiting the home country's balance of payments. Additionally, if the foreign subsidiary creates demand for exports from the home country such as capital equipment, intermediate goods, and related products, it can further boost the balance of payments. Employment effects. Outward FDI can lead to positive employment effects in the home country when the foreign subsidiary generates demand for home country exports. For instance, investments like Toyota's auto assembly operations in Europe have benefited Japan's balance of payments and employment by importing some component parts directly from Japan. Knowledge transfer and skill development. Home country multinational enterprises, MNEs, can acquire valuable skills and knowledge from exposure to foreign markets, which can be transferred back home, leading to a reverse resource transfer effect. This transfer includes learning superior management techniques and advanced product and process technologies. For example, General Motors and Ford invested in Japanese automobile companies to gain insights into production processes. Successfully transferring this knowledge back to their U.S. operations can result in a net gain for the U.S. economy through enhanced competitiveness and economic growth. Foreign direct investment, FDI, brings both benefits and costs to the home country. The primary concerns revolve around the balance of payments and employment effects of outward FDI. The home country may face challenges in its balance of payments due to initial capital outflows for FDI, potential substitution of direct exports, and the use of low-cost production locations to serve the home market. Moreover, if FDI replaces domestic production, it can lead to reduced employment in the home country. This issue becomes especially critical if the home country is grappling with high unemployment rates, sparking worries about the export of jobs overseas and the potential negative impacts on the domestic workforce. International trade theory and FDI. When evaluating the costs and benefits of foreign direct investment, FDI, for the home country, it's important to consider the insights from international trade theory. Contrary to concerns about negative economic impacts of offshore production, FDI aimed at serving the home market, such investments may actually spur economic growth and employment in the home country by reallocating resources to areas of comparative advantage. Offshore production can lead to lower prices for consumers, and restricting such investments due to perceived negative employment effects could result in the home country losing market share to international competitors benefiting from low-cost production. In the long run, the adverse economic consequences of foregoing offshore production opportunities might outweigh the relatively minor balance of payments and employment concerns associated with such FDI. When it comes to regulating foreign direct investment, FDI, home countries have a range of policy instruments at their disposal to either promote or restrict outward FDI by local firms. To encourage outward FDI, home countries can implement various policies. These include providing foreign risk insurance to cover risks like expropriation, war losses, and profit transfer constraints, which can incentivize investments in politically unstable regions. Advanced nations may offer government loans through special funds or banks to support investments in developing countries. Moreover, eliminating double taxation on foreign income and leveraging political influence to persuade host countries to relax inbound FDI restrictions are common strategies. For instance, countries like the United States have successfully influenced host nations like Japan to ease formal and informal barriers to foreign investment, as seen in the case of Toys R Us expanding its presence in Japan following lobbying efforts and governmental support. The last slide we will talk about is restricting outward FDI. Home countries often exercise control over outward foreign direct investment, FDI, through various policies. One common approach is to restrict capital outflows to safeguard the country's balance of payments. For instance, Britain imposed exchange control regulations in the 1960s to 1979, limiting capital movement abroad, not only to address balance of payments concerns, but also to hinder domestic firms from engaging in FDI. Governments may also manipulate tax regulations to incentivize domestic investment over foreign ventures, aiming to boost domestic job creation. For example, Britain once taxed British companies' foreign earnings at a higher rate than their domestic earnings to encourage domestic investment. Additionally, countries may enforce formal or informal prohibitions on national firms investing in certain countries for political reasons. The United States, for instance, had formal rules prohibiting investments in countries like Cuba and Iran due to political disagreements, while informal pressures dissuaded firms from investing in South Africa during apartheid to push for policy changes, which eventually occurred in the early 1990s.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.